Manchester United 3, Athletic Bilbao 0. An incredible first leg result for Manchester United. I am over the moon with what we watched last night. Although actually, weirdly, the performance wasn't that amazing. Bit of a weird sport. So let's start off by addressing that point there, because we've just won 3-0 away from home in a semi-final in the Europa League, and I'm sitting here going, it wasn't actually a great performance. And the reason I say that was because in the first 30 minutes, we saw United tactically overloading certain parts of the pitch, but actually technically struggling to execute. And for the first 30, it made it quite difficult. Amorim himself said after the game, United found it difficult, were nervous in the early parts of the match, picking out Ugarte and Dorgu as two of the players who struggled. I would throw Lindelof into that mix as well. You see, what we saw was United trying to play the ball out from the back, and Bilbao trying to apply pressure. Bilbao trying to squeeze high up the pitch, and United trying to play through. And what we saw was something very, very similar to what we predicted in the tactical preview the other day. Because what Bilbao were looking to do was press in a sort of 4-2-3-1 shape. But that means they are one player down when they are pressing. We have more players in this position than what Bilbao do. And in particular, what we had was a spare wing-back. Which means if you have the ball with someone like Yoro, for example, what United should have been looking to try and do was move the ball into this position, then move the ball wide to the spare wing-back. Because the fullback for Bilbao, DeMarcos, had to mark both Bruno Fernandes and Dorgu, which is incredibly difficult to do. And let me just show you what we're talking about here. Now, first of all, this is the clip we were talking about before the game. This was against Rangers. Rangers were able to find this space against Bilbao. United struggled a little bit early on, because here we've got three players for Manchester United in this wide position, and you can see we are outnumbering Bilbao in this position. There's only two Bilbao players, even though I've put three markers down. But there's only two players there. And what United should be looking to do is combine round the corner, go into the feet of Ugarte, then move the ball wide to Bruno Fernandes, because wide on the left-hand side, we are 2 versus 1 up against the fullback. That's what United should have been looking to do, but there was just technical moments where we really struggled. The ball eventually falls to Ugarte, and it sort of gets lost under his feet a little bit, and he loses the ball in a dangerous area. That's just 6 minutes into the game. And then we've got another situation, about 10 minutes later on the other side of the pitch, still 0-0 at this moment. United have 3 players over on that side of the pitch. Bilbao don't have anywhere near as many. They've only got 2. And what United should be looking to do is move the ball inside and then play it wide to the spare wing-back. But on this occasion, Lindelof loses the ball in a really dangerous area. And this is why I say, particularly at the start of the match, United didn't play particularly well. So I'm sitting here saying United didn't start the game very well at all, yet we won 3-0 away from home. How does that make any sense? Well, it's because knockout football, particularly European football, is all about big moments. It's about keeping it tight for as long as possible. When you get your chance, you've got to take it. And sometimes you need someone called Harry Maguire, who is apparently a centre-back, but when he plays in Europe, he seems to be some sort of second coming of Lionel Messi. He is unbelievable in the final third all of a sudden. You need moments like this. You need players that can kind of break up a situation. Maguire on the right-hand side picks the ball up, dribbling, beating his man, swinging the ball into the box. Ugarte gets first contact, Casemiro the second contact. That's what you need in European football. Moments, players that deliver moments. And on this occasion, it was Maguire, Ugarte in the middle, and then Casemiro at the back post. The second goal was also about moments. Manchester United win the ball and look to transition quickly move the ball to the final third. We move the ball wide to the right hand side, and Mazraoui, he just takes a chance. He puts the ball into the box. Rasmus Højlund is there, he is active, he makes the run across the near post, gets fouled, wins the penalty. Bilbao get a player sent off, we scored a penalty, and suddenly in just a few moments it's gone from, you know, okay, we're managing the game okay, we've tactically set up quite well, but technically we're struggling a little bit, to suddenly in 2 moments we're 2-0 up and playing against 10 men. That is European football. But I think what United did after that, you know, playing against 10 men, was really good. Now, what impressed me against 10 men was the way that Amorim approached the game, because immediately, he made a tactical adjustment to make his team more attacking, more aggressive. Previously, we were building possession with this sort of 3-2 shape. We've already seen Ugarte involved in a deep build-up phase earlier. Now, suddenly, against 10 men, we altered the shape just a little bit. Casemiro went into a solo pivot role, and Ugarte pushed forward into this position here. So now we are in a diamond, because we've got Casemiro as a solo pivot, Ugarte in the 10 position, Bruno Fernandes and Garnacho either side in these kind of 2 half spaces. And the benefit of playing a diamond is the player here, Casemiro, the solo pivot, has time in front of the Bilbao midfield, and Ugarte, our 10, has time behind the Bilbao midfield, because Bilbao are set up in the predicted very narrow back 4 with also a very narrow 4 in front of them. So we had those spaces in front of the midfield and behind the midfield, and we saw this literally like a minute or two after Bilbao went down to 10 men. We can see this literally immediately after the red card. United are now in the diamond shape, and as we can see, Bilbao are defending with 2 flat banks of 4 and of course the striker in front of them. But of course, when you play with a holding midfielder and a 10 against 2 banks of 4, you get spaces. Ugarte here, Casemiro here, they are now the 2 key players in front of the Bilbao midfield and behind the Bilbao midfield. And because they're down to 10 men, Bilbao, of course, struggling, even emotionally in this moment, they've just gone down to 10 men. They're a little bit all over the place, and United really capitalised on that. Casemiro playing the ball through the lines to Ugarte. This is a killer when you play against this sort of defensive structure. And it is something that we spoke about the other day, moving the ball into these positions. Although, I'll be honest, I didn't anticipate Ugarte eventually ending up as a 10 in this football match, but he actually did pretty well when he went into that position. I think he started the game really poorly, Ugarte. He was one of the ones, technically, who struggled in the first phase. But I thought, you know, against 10 men, I thought he played very, very well and was key for a couple of the goals. This one in particular. Eventually, the second ball sort of falls for us. We win the duels and eventually play that back heel through from Ugarte. It's a great pass. Bruno Fernandes races in on goal and puts the ball into the back of the net. And this was something that we continued with in the second half. I do feel in the second half we could have been more aggressive. We could have moved the ball a little bit quicker to shift the Bilbao block and try and move the ball forward and try and get a 4-4 or 5th. But ultimately, we were 3-0 up away from home in Europe. We didn't need to take any risks. But what this shape allowed us to do was basically pin Bilbao back and stop them really getting anywhere near us in the second half, because the 2 wing-backs can push just that little bit higher now because we've got more men than Bilbao. You know, we've got a bit more confidence now. So we push the 2 wing-backs fairly high. Then you've got Ugarte, you've got Garnacho, you've got Bruno Fernandes all pushing further forward. It pins all these Bilbao players backwards. And that means in this position here, we're literally 3 versus 1 against the striker, like you can see in this situation. So what this meant throughout the second half was United pinned Bilbao back really well with the forward players, and it just meant that these players in deeper phases could just cycle the ball about all day long. Like I said, could we have been more aggressive in moments? Yes, I think we probably could have, but ultimately we were 3-0 up. We were just happy to control it. And also, we did still have chances when we pulled Bilbao into wider positions. You see, Bilbao always wanted to come into this game and defend with a really narrow, compact shape. All of these players within the width of the 18-yard box. What United did well on a couple of occasions was move the ball over to one side. So let's say Lindelof's got the ball over here. Bilbao's block is going to shift. Bilbao's block is going to shift all the way over here. All these players just shift across like that. What then happens is if you move the ball quickly to the other side, Bilbao, of course, have to shift back across. But the way that they do that is what's important here. Because DeMarcos, the right back, is now dragged out of this position. So he's dragged out towards Patrick Dorgu. This means that Bruno Fernandes has a space that he can attack. As Bruno Fernandes attacks that space and receives the ball, the centre-back has to come across. Because the centre-back has come across, one of the midfielders has to drop deeper, and that gives us this room on the edge of the penalty area for the cutback. We spoke about cutbacks last week, how United are getting much better in that part of the pitch, and I really think we are. This is the wrong clip. Okay, so I just quickly reloaded that because I had the wrong clip up. This is what I'm talking about. Bilbao in a really narrow, really compact shape initially, and United moved the ball well. We moved the ball quickly from the right-hand side, we kind of cycle it around the back, and then quickly fizz the pass out to Patrick Dorgu. Dorgu, the wing-back, picks up the ball. The Bilbao right-back has to come out towards him. He has to engage. He has to move into this position. But of course, we know what that means. It's going to leave space in behind for someone else to attack. On this occasion, it's Bruno Fernandes. Playing in the left 10, he makes the run in behind. And as Bruno Fernandes receives the ball, the next Bilbao defender has to come across. So the centre-back now comes across to try and deal with Bruno Fernandes. That means the midfielder now has to drop into the penalty area, which means that United get space on the edge of the penalty area. And this is a good pass from Bruno Fernandes. We find Ugarte. It doesn't quite come off. It sort of bobbles through to Højlund, who doesn't quite get there. And I think we won the corner after this. But I think as the game went on, particularly in the second half, there were so many moments where we could have capitalised on this. We could have played with a bit more intensity, because I would say, and I'd love to know if you agree, in the second half, it all felt really slow, really just kind of keeping it ticking over, happy with the scoreline. Any time we sort of upped the intensity just a little bit in the second half, we moved the ball just a little bit quicker, every single time we did that, it looked like we could score a goal. Every single time. And that is something that United are going to have to look at in the second leg, because as the players and the manager rightly said after the game, the tie isn't done. United realistically will want at least one more goal next week at Old Trafford. And I think the way to do that is to try and make those cutback situations work, because we are getting a lot better at that, and it genuinely is causing massive problems for these teams, and we saw it again last night. Apart from that though, apart from those tactical points, I genuinely don't think there's too much else to talk about, because it was a really weird game of football. It was fairly poor for 30 minutes, then we had a 15-minute blitz where we scored 3 goals, they went down to 10 men, and you could argue the tie was over there. Second half was about managing it. We did it very well. I would have liked a fourth, but we didn't grab it. So weirdly, in the second half, felt slightly anticlimactic. But if you had offered me 3-0 before the game started, I would have taken your hand off. I think you guys who watched the preview will know that I was more optimistic than most. But I did not see a 3-0 win coming away from home. It's an amazing result. It should be enough for United. We'll have to see in the second leg. And of course, we will cover the second leg next week. So subscribe, notifications on, you know what to do. But I think actually for today, that is all we need to cover. United got the job done very, very nicely, and in the end, it felt quite easy, which we haven't been able to say about United very often at all in the past 5 years. So we take that on to the next game. Lovely stuff.